Hey, it's Friday night, and welcome to the Fancaste for WCBS, where we discuss all things world-class bullshitters and accompanying videos, and maybe some other stuff, like Facebook comments and ring rust. We'll see. So on the line, we have, all the way from the Northeast somewhere, Liquid Metal Pro. And hiding out in his bunker, because that's where he loves to drink, Kendo Slice.
Huh? Whatever. I'm just hanging out, whatever.
All right.
Gonna work on the small pack of pumpkin beer, and I'll update you guys on it.
Pumpkin beer, awesome.
Yeah.
So, and I'm your glorious host or something like that, Brian Lape, also known as Brainmuffin, and we shall see. So, let's get started and on to the good stuff before all the voices in my head start talking. So, we'll
Jesus, how many you have in them?
I don't know, but when I get really drunk, they come out, and it's kind of scary. Enough.
Yeah,
I have
problems.
Enough that I could
Mine
be a small village.
Mine just encouraged me to do the violent things that I probably should have done already.
Yeah. Drink. Might have arguments over esoterical things, and if my wife says something, and then they get really upset about her talking, and then it really is annoying.
I don't blame them. The woman shouldn't be speaking to you anyway unless you address her.
Yeah, that would be nice. All right, so episode 86 was actually 2 weeks ago, because last week I was in Columbus at Matsuri Con, which has a great time, and now I don't have any pictures up because my Nikon software isn't working, and I have a ticket in with them, and they keep telling me it should work, and I keep telling them it's not. I send them a screenshot. We'll see if they can fix it, because I've got stuff to do. I did try my hand at some video, some movement stuff. I really haven't looked at it because I've just been a lazy bum. Because also this week, the next patch for WoW dropped, and I looked at it and went, yeah, this sucks. So anyway, so I've been playing other things. Episode 86. One of the things that's been going along, and because, well, you have one camp. This is the DCU. Is it dead? Is it dying? Is it just a schizophrenic child? Because you have the Wonder Woman movie that, in my opinion, is only mediocre, but people are afraid to criticize it because feminism. But I think
it was a great movie.
Is it up to number 1 yet, or is it still like the number 2 overall sales? I forget. It comes out on video soon, because I've been getting stuff from video stores saying, hey, you'll pre-order your... But here's what I've noticed about Wonder Woman. When I talk to people that are really, really fanatical about it, and I start pointing out a few things, a few minor glitches, they either don't want to talk to me, or they are suddenly saying, oh, wait a minute, I don't know if I like the movie anymore. As I've said previously, my biggest thing has been Gal is not the lead actor in that. Chris Pine is, and she's not the hero. Steve is. So, but what do we think? I mean, is the DCU... I mean, there's comments. I know some of the things that Jeff and others have said, that it seems like they're trying to catch up to Marvel. Other people have said they're not really. Are they trying to cash in the last thing? Are we going to really... I know they had that one image of like 18 movies over the next 20 years. Are we really going to see that? Or is it really just 3 or 4 more movies, and then we'll just go back to our standalone superheroes that we've always had? Those are questions, Liquid Metal Pro. Feel free to chime in.
Well, I mean, I've already basically said it so many times how one of the reasons I just could not watch the Wonder Woman movie is the fatigue. I started feeling setting in already. I don't know if it was maybe was it Suicide Squad? I'm assuming it has to be Suicide Squad, because once I saw that movie, I was like, all right, I don't think DC can make anything worth watching at this point. It really was like 3 movies in. He fucked up those 3, and I didn't even care to watch the rest of BVS or even Man of Steel. Like it just got annoying after a while. But in terms of what DC is doing, I mean, if they're trying to catch up or whatever with Marvel, I mean, they're not really doing a great job. Marvel, I mean, Marvel has just so much more hype going behind it, and so much more credibility in terms of these movies. I'm like, even if I don't go watch, let's say, Black Panther because I'm a little iffy on it right now until maybe I see another trailer drop. I'm still excited for the Thor movie coming out with Hulk in it. So there's that. The
Right.
DC they can put out another movie. I don't know. Let's just say day after tomorrow, just for the sake of argument, they put out a movie for like I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good DC. What would be a good DC movie? I know they brought it up as an idea. Let's just say they bring up a Green Lantern movie with The Rock as John Stewart. Hey, it
Yeah.
sounds like it sounds like something I would want to watch. But then I think DC, Zack Snyder type of directing. Yeah, I think I might pass on this one, or I may not go see it in theaters until I get more like word of mouth if it's good or not.
Yeah. It's. I think a lot. Much of it depends on what you mean by good, because many of the DC EU movies do far better worldwide. You know, Batman versus Superman, as far as I remember, didn't kowtow to the worldwide audience, especially in China. Yet it did well worldwide. You know, we're getting these token Chinese actors in some movies just so that they can, when they promote it in China, they can have a poster with that person on it. They may have 8 lines in the whole movie, maybe on screen 12 minutes, but that's how they'll market it. And I think that's just cheap and it's pandering and it's really, you know, to me it's quite vulgar. But many of these DCU movies, they're not financially, none of them are flops.
I don't really know.
What they are is they're not getting the big return anyway. I mean, you mentioned Suicide Squad, so a budget of 175 million, grossed worldwide 745 million. You know, it's not $1 billion seller, but these are all, other than Harley Quinn and the Joker. You know, I didn't know any of these other characters. I'm also don't follow comic books that well, and I only know Harley Quinn and the Joker because of the Batman comic that became the cartoon that became very popular, and then in the world of cosplay, Harley Quinn was a popular cosplay, and I mentioned that we were in Columbus for MatsuriCon. This year there were because that came out last summer, right before MatsuriCon. There were a few Harley Quinns last year and a few this year. You only get a handful of comic characters because it's mostly an anime type convention, but there were also a couple people in the kind of the Joker outfit, like from a playing card, the full clothed one. But there were several young ladies dressed up as Harley Quinn from the Suicide Squad movies. So, financially, okay, that's 570 million that it nets, minus whatever the budget for advertising and stuff was. So, these aren't huge returns, but a lot of the MCU movies aren't blockbusters either. They might make $300 or $400 million after it's all said and done. And I think it's a perception thing. I know they rail on Batman versus Superman quite a bit. My son watched it, didn't like it. I watched the extended cut, and I did a video on why I thought it wasn't as bad as people thought. But part of that is I kind of was in contact with my cousin about what Batman's like in the comics, and it's not this. It's not rock'em sock'em robots like the Marvel movies are. And I think the biggest issue here is the style is being lost. And there's this expectation that there's supposed to be, a 2.5 hour superhero movie is supposed to be 2 hours and 15 minutes of fighting. And the Marvel movies kind of follow that, and the DC movies don't. But the DC movies of old didn't. Superman 2 had long stretches of discussion and dialogue, and I think that's the problem, is they're not updating the DC style, if you will, to the audience who's used to 2.5 minute snippets on YouTube and has the attention span that long, and you gotta have a faster pace. The story's not as important. Character development doesn't have to be done in such a grandiose style. But this is like someone like me. I'm the opposite. I watch the Marvel movies, and I'm watching Civil War, and I'm like, when in the heck did Iron Man and Captain America become completely opposite of where they were in the last movie? Uh, they seem unmotivated to have changed allegiances so much. And I probably missed it because it was only on screen 4 seconds in a previous movie. Plus, I've not seen them all. And I think I can watch some of these movies because, I haven't seen Ant-Man. I haven't seen Age of Ultron. I haven't seen several of the other ones. But even in the MCU, it took them, they did 2 Hulk movies, neither of which did incredibly well. And now Hulk just shows up. We have enough of his origin and background in exposition throughout 2 or 3 movies, where maybe just mostly in Avengers, where he talks about being angry and and then he learns to control it by the end. Although I must say, CinemaSins is just kind of they send that David Banner has control now because plot. I think the biggest thing too is that Marvel having this overall idea and a design to things, and it does seem like Zack Snyder's just kind of making it up as it goes along. It may, in my mind, I think, okay, let's get through Justice League, and which apparently it's just really sounding like it's going to be a hot mess. Just skip it and just do more or less standalone-ish movies with maybe a cameo or some kind of minor crossover. That would be more, I don't know, it'd be different, but that would be more in tune with the previous DC movies, which we've had more DC movies previously, right? I think.
We've had DC movies before. In fact, I didn't even know it was a DC property. Was Red, Retired Extremely Dangerous?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a great movie per se, but it was enjoyable, at least for a popcorn flick or something. I remember me and my then ex went out to go watch it. She didn't like it, but at least, for 2 hours, the 2 hours I think it was that we went. At least she wasn't bored. So that alone was, kind of justified the ticket purchase that day.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually liked that movie, but see, it was aimed at an older audience, so I'm not surprised that, it was aimed more for us in our 40s. So, and I think it was kind of the point, because everybody else was in their 50s and 60s in that movie, right? They're all older.
John Malkovich was the best part of that whole movie.
Yeah. I didn't see the second. Didn't they come out with a sequel?
Yeah, they came out with 2.
Yeah, I don't think I saw that one.
I've got the DC Comics movies numbers in front of me. Currently, Wonder Woman is number 3. She's at 407. The Dark Knight Rises is 448. The Dark Knight's 533. She's not catching them. If you go to the opening numbers, Wonder Woman is 6th.
Wow.
She's behind Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Just Ass, Dark Knight Rises, Dark Knight, Suicide Squad, and Man of Steel.
Yeah. Now, is that actuals?
She's far enough behind that she's not catching up to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, on actual, she's 3rd, and on constant dollars, she's 5th. And, yeah, see, and it hasn't opened. I don't think it's opened in China yet. But, if it's going to be on DVD before it opens in China, it ain't going to do crap in China, because that thing will be pirated all over the country before it ever opens.
Yeah, adjusted for inflation, she's 5th.
Right. Right. Superman, and the Dark Knight Rises, Batman, the Dark Knight. And
she's not
so
catching Wonder Woman's worldwide so far, but I don't know, it doesn't say where at worldwide. She's at 807 overall. Worldwide, 407 domestic, 400 overseas. I don't know if the China market's not in there, but when it does go to China, if it hasn't done that yet, she could catch Dawn of Just Ass, because she's 67 million behind them, but then she's got to make up 300 million to catch Dark Knight and 380 to catch Dark Knight Rises. Yeah. If you want something even more depressing, I can read this off to you.
All right.
Upcoming releases: Justice League 11/17/17, Untitled DC film July 17, releasing in July of 18. Aquaman 12/21/18. Untitled DC film 4/5/19. Untitled DC film 6/14/19. Untitled DC film 11/1/19. Wonder Woman 2 12/13/19. Untitled DC film 2/14/20. Untitled DC film 4/3/20. Untitled DC film 6/5/20. And Untitled DC film 7/24/20.
How in the freak can you have that many untitled? No,
they have 11. They have 11 upcoming releases, and 3 of them have titles.
Yeah.
So, Justice League comes out later this year. Aquaman's at the end of next year, and Wonder Woman's at the end of. She's a little over 2 years away.
Yeah, that's if they ever finish Justice League reshoots.
Oh God, that's another thing. I
think they're still reshooting stuff. I mean,
that's if it doesn't go into the complete fucking crapper before then they end up having to cancel all this shit.
Yeah, what I think is going to happen, we'll probably get 2 Justice League films. We'll definitely get the Aquaman one. Oh, that's what you're reading, upcoming releases. Yeah, I see it on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised if Justice League does not do, and I don't know what well means, but if people don't believe it's a good movie, I don't care if it grosses $1 billion. If people don't believe it's a good movie, I would not be surprised if all these other untitles are just one-offs. Catwoman, Batgirl, a Batman movie, and they're like slightly tied into the DCU because it might make. It's kind of like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Where they make references to stuff that happens in the movies, but there's I think 1 or 2 episodes where what's her face shows up, Lady Sill or whatever her name is, and Nick Fury is in. He has like an 8-second appearance in one of them. I haven't watched it in quite a while because I just can't take it anymore. But
I don't bother to.
Right, but so they're like connected but not, and they're not really mentioned in the movies at all. I don't know if any of the Avengers know that what's his nuts is still alive, but Coulson. And some of the events that happen in them I don't think are mentioned in the movies at all either. So I would not be surprised if Justice League just doesn't wow us, which I don't see how it can. This is where I think Wonder Woman's got two big things going for it. One, it wasn't as bad as all the other ones as far as compared to the current genre of superhero movies and what they need to look like and be like. But and it also had an all-female staff or whatever. Although apparently it's based off of a script written like in 2008 or 2009. It's a Zack Snyder script with just minor modifications, set in World War One. And so people, by I mean Hollywood and the people on YouTube who want to be in the in crowd, like Stuckman and all the other cuck teases, to say it's not that great a film. I mean, it is compared to the other DC movies what people are expecting. But see, I like 2 of the other DCE movies better than Wonder Woman, mainly because Gal is not the lead and she's not the superhero. The hero of the movie is not her. And she's this spoiled, stuck-up brat that wants her way throughout the entire thing. People tell me, before I saw it, oh, she gains her powers through love. And then I'm like, no, she does not. I kept expecting that. And I'm like, her extreme anger at the death of Steve, not Rogers, Steve Lyle
That'd be a hell of a crossover.
Yeah. Steve, what is his last name? Lyle Wagner was the guy who played him in the 70s. But anyway, when he dies, she gets rage. It's like, hormone rage, and she's killing. She doesn't even have to get close to her. The lightning and all that stuff's coming, all the energy's coming off her, and she's killing Germans that are 15 feet away from her. And that's
Amazonian PMS.
Right. That's where she really gains her powers. And then the god that she's fighting sends all that power into her, and she absorbs it all and sends it back at him. It's not love. Maybe you're going to say her rage is because she fell in love with him. I think it's that. Anyway, it doesn't matter what I think. But
so it's basically what it is you can look at it if you want to be more cynical. She just didn't get her way, and because she couldn't have it her way, and her man died, she basically threw the mother of all fits. And
yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
What do they call that? When you what's that mechanical? What's that literary device or whatever it's called? That like it's just used as a plot device to basically resolve the story.
Well,
What is it?
Deus ex machina, where you
Yeah,
remove from a situation, but yeah, it's kind of like that. But
yeah, because that's what it sounds like to me.
so
Like it's set in.
Ares is who she was fighting the whole time, and he even said, these people are violent without me doing anything. I did not start this war. Basically, he was saying killing me is going to make no difference. I mean, he may have even said it that way, and it was completely correct. And that was the thing that really got me. It's like, okay, so even that, so Steve's sacrifice meant that that gas was not going to hit a large populated area. I think it was at London, wherever they were targeting. So you're not going to have potentially millions die from that gas, but her killing of Ares means zip worldwide. All it means is that she, her true nature is finally revealed, and that's it. And when she's a young lady looking at that sword and shield, and her mother's talking to her about how this is, none of us can hold this, and you can't have it, Diana. I'm not going to train you. I will say that that little girl, I think, acted better than Gaul did. That look on her face is like, oh yeah, Mom, just watch me. And the whole time, even when Steve's on the island, we gotta leave because Ares. She's really focused on that, and everybody else is kind of like, well, no, that's not really it's not what we are, and they're very reluctant. Though she does let her go pretty easily, and then we have this magical boat ride where somehow we go from the Mediterranean to London overnight. So it, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too cynical in my old age, but it's amazing to me. I think if Batman and Batman versus Super, or whatever the first one, the Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman had been more aligned with audience expectations and not such thrown together movies, I think Wonder Woman doesn't do half as well.
I mean, with BVS, I think it was just like adding too much into what should have really just be a very simple story.
Yeah.
Of it.
Well, make it Batman versus Superman. If that's what you're doing, you don't need to throw, Wonder Woman showing up maybe to knock some sense into the two of them, but you don't have to have Doomsday show up. You can save that for something else.
Unnecessary.
No, I think if you have Lex Luthor fighting that ship near the end, and then we cut away, and then somehow whether you still kill. I mean, I think part of it was to kill Superman, so now we can resurrect him. And I'm like, we don't need another character with even more Christ, imagery. We had it with one. Well, we had it in Man of Steel with him floating, and we even had things with Batman versus Superman, and then we had Wonder Woman hovering in the air, literally with her arms spread out, so she was in a cross position. Now we're going to get a resurrected Superman. I'm like, oh, good grief! It's like it's all the only imagery Zack Snyder has is that. And like, good, just go on to something else.
You know what's going to revive Superman? Martha.
No,
it's Martha. That's how it's going to start. It's at his funeral, and someone
well, they already buried him.
He's going to speak, and he's going to be like, "Whoa!" And that's when I found out me and him have something in common. Martha. And you see him like almost instinctively. Superman will probably like pop off the coffin or something.
No, they already buried him, but they showed the dirt rising at the end of Batman versus Superman. So it's going to be 2 years before we get a second Wonder Woman movie. That's interesting.
I don't care.
Yeah, but if they hold to that, they better make her the hero of that movie. They're not better, and she better learn how to act because she needs to carry that movie herself. She don't need somebody like Chris Pine carrying that movie. Gaul has to carry that movie herself, which I don't think she can do. And I want to be completely wrong, but that was the thing that bothered me about that. I wasn't overwhelmed. I was like, okay, it's a decent movie, and there was something that was bothering me for weeks. And it took me almost 3 weeks to figure out that it was because she was not the lead and she was not the hero. That's what it's like. It was in the back of my mind. I'm like, that's really annoying me because it's a Wonder Woman movie. It's not Steve Trevor. Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman. So
Well, no,
anyway,
maybe that
enough
was,
about all
maybe
that
that was
crap.
the original script, for all we know.
Well, yeah, I think that if it's true how far back that movie goes, apparently there was also a comic that it followed, and I think a cartoon. And I will say this: when Jeff was talking about the other Justice League movie that never was, I actually like that other actress better. But
You can go.
yeah, but it's that neither of them are that great. It's not like it was, an Oscar-winning or any actress being replaced by someone who was, just a tease in Fast and Furious and was picked up by an agent because of her pictures in Maxim magazine. I mean, come on. We want to talk. I tell you what. Let's just go into that subject because this is a good lead-in to James Cameron. And I think he's right because the way Gal got that role is definitely 100% objectifying of women. She got that role because she was a model, and she was in Maxim magazine of like the women of the Israeli army. She was not a special forces trainer like a bunch of people want to believe. She was a physical fitness trainer, mostly running, so cardio, which explains her thin, no muscle tone as she's in those movies. I don't completely agree with James Cameron because on some of the stuff about why Sarah Connor is she was a horrible mother in some ways, but a good mother in other ways because she was trying to hide her son. Right? She knew what was coming. I think the mental instability is knowing what the future holds. She tries to blow up the place. She gets put in a mental hospital. No one will believe her. Right? This guy walks into the police station. He does all this stuff, but no one understands that he's a robot from the future. She's the only person. Right? Kyle Reese dies. He's the only other one that would understand it. She has an actual struggle. Diana, at least as we see in Wonder Woman, has no real struggle, has no real come to terms other than with her own self-centeredness. And granted, that's 2 movies now, but on the flip side, by the 3rd movie, I think James kind of undoes all that stuff when he doesn't want his ex-wife in a movie with him and just basically kills her off between movies. And because I think in the first and especially the second Terminator, we have a very strong female character in Sarah Connor.
Oh, no doubt.
And I mean, in more ways than one, right?
It doesn't get mentioned much nowadays.
Yeah, she's kind of buff, but she has these moments of struggle and realization, and then when she sees the Terminator, she's like, "Oh my goodness, this is because she thinks it's another one that's been programmed to come after her son, and doesn't realize that until then he's a protector." There's also some deleted scenes from that movie that also show a different, that her growth in those movies. So it's like I can understand where James is coming from, but in the Hollywood environment these days, that is not a very popular opinion.
Now that you brought that up, it's actually very interesting. I really didn't want to talk about this, but I'm not going to talk about it here. If I ever do, I may do this like a video on my channel or something like that and talk about it there. Or beside the point. So basically, a certain movie was released on Netflix this past weekend. I'm not even going to bother to name it because otherwise, if I do, I feel like I'll get in a ramble about it. But the thing that I wanted to bring up was it was a video I was watching on YouTube. The YouTuber's name is Aiden Paladin. And one thing that I found interesting was that because she was addressing this whole thing about how people are like complaining about the whitewashing of like adaptations in American movies. And she's saying, well, it's not really a whitewashing what's going on. What it really is that, for example, like with Ghost in the Shell, I'll reference that one because this was really what it was referenced to. They were talking about like, okay, well, why was it that Scarlett Johansson was chosen as a lead for the character? and they're when it's from a Japanese anime manga adaptation. So the whole thing was that the director, who he himself is kind of like a very liberal individual, and I don't know if he's an SJW or not, but he said it himself. Currently, in terms of Hollywood, in terms of hot actresses, and we don't mean hot in terms of just looks, but in terms of popularity, their whether or not they can sell a movie or not, there weren't any like lead female Asian women actresses out there that he could have chosen for that. That's why he went with Scarlett Johansson, because that was a very recognizable face, had a lot of star power behind her, and it was going to more than likely sell. Now, obviously, in the end, the numbers weren't really telling so well. It would really do as great as I think they were hoping to, but that's the point. And he came out with it. And this was somebody who he himself is very kind of like a very progressive type of individual. So, and it's, going to the whole like, oh, nobody wants to talk about it. The reality is that sometimes, listen, people are just, especially in a lot of these movies, I'm pretty sure with, especially with Wonder Woman, I wouldn't doubt it what you're saying, that yeah, she was basically chosen for her looks. It's not because she fit the bill, not because she was a great actress, because from what everybody tells me, I cannot hear, like I have yet to hear somebody, even people who defend the movie, tell me that she's a good actress.
Right.
Like, nobody has defended her acting ability. They can't. And that alone makes me not want to see this movie ever, and I still don't plan to. But they will go out and say, oh, wow, she at least looked great in this shot, this shot, and this shot. I'm like, okay, so she looked great in terms of, like, the action, in terms of her acting ability, or in terms of how she looked. Like, she looked like the character, or she had a certain presence or look behind her. Like, she was like, let's think about the Wonder Woman outfit.
Yeah.
It's a very sexy outfit. I could still watch. I don't care if this sounds kind of weird for somebody approaching his 30s to say, but fucking Linda Carter, hot as shit in that outfit, man. Prime is like, damn. Makes me wish that time machines were real and I could try to pick her up one day and, see where that goes. No, but it's legit. And, sometimes I mean, especially my parents and my mom who watches older movies, older Spanish movies especially, look at some of these actresses.
Yeah. You still there?
Who, me?
No. Look on the pro mid-sentence. Look at some of these actresses, and then we don't hear him. Uh-oh. He had a great thought going. Oh, man.
Meager must have got him.
Holy cow.
I haven't watched Wonder Woman yet. I figure what I'll probably do is just wait till it comes out.
Oh, it dropped.
Once it hits DVD, then I'll be able to get it. Because then I can watch it at my leisure. I can decide either A, this is all right, I can make it through it, or B, fuck this. This is terrible. I'll watch something else. That's why I didn't go see Batman versus Superman, and I didn't go see Suicide Squad in theaters, just because they didn't really jump out at me. So I just waited until they came out on video, and then I decided to rent them and watch them. And I got through Dawn of Justice by forcing myself to get through it, and it was not good. And then Suicide Squad, I didn't even make it through all of Suicide Squad. I got probably most of the way through it. I think I quit watching it after Cuck Joker came helicoptering down. It was about the time I think I stopped, because I was just like, this is just so all over the place, so dumb. There's just so much weird, goofy, no point, no build, no nothing. It's just bullshit going on. It's just all this stuff just crammed into a movie for the sake of just cramming into a movie.
Yeah. No, I mean, I saw it. My daughter and my wife and I went to see it. Let's see if we can get them back. But, the first half of it I kind of liked. And then when it went into this boss run fight, I was like, yeah, I can understand why people didn't like this movie.
Yeah.
Because it did fall apart. It's like that's when we get even more Joker nonsense. We have him. Is he going to save Harley? Is he going to try to kill Harley? And I'm like, yep, you're back,
nope,
mate.
And he left.
Well, he started to. There he goes again. He's got to have a bad connection. He's getting a storm or something.
It's hard to keep connected to Wi-Fi when you're riding around in the back of a truck.
I'll try to add him again. But you know, I really wish I knew the DC and Marvel comic books better, because I don't know how much of this is DC style versus Marvel style
Guys,
versus. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell just happened right now because I wasn't disconnected from the internet, but I got disconnected from Skype.
Yeah, I noticed you were in mid sentence of brilliance, and then poof.
I know too because I was like, wait a second, guys, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And then it's like you guys are still talking. I thought you guys were like playing a prank on me or something. So I was like, they wouldn't do. And then I just got disconnected. I was like, oh shit, something happened just now.
Yeah, and then it wouldn't let me add you by the list. I found you a different way and added you back. So anyway, do you remember where you were?
Well, basically, I was getting at the whole like in terms of looks and whatnot. Like let's be honest. A lot of these movies, and it's not always just like they're finding attractive women. They're finding attractive men too. Because remember,
yeah,
you can get a male audience, but you also need to get a female audience.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Pine exactly got scars on his face and looks like a reject from the circus.
Right. So exactly, it's like look at the men that they have in a lot of these movies. You see a lot of them looking like slobs. You see a lot of them looking fat, ugly, beaner looking ish.
Yeah. And what you were talking about with Scarlett Johansson, yeah, I actually had read an article and actually seen some videos about that. I think Max What's-His-Face had done something where, yeah, that was part of the problem. Is there isn't a female. I mean, Jackie Chan's getting a little old. And there's some others.
So I wouldn't want to see him naked.
Well, but there's some other Chinese actors, or let's say Oriental actors in Hollywood, but they're all older for that type of movie. And there wasn't an up-and-coming actress recognizable by American audiences, I guess you could say, or even worldwide audiences, perhaps. Because, China and India, for instance, have a very vibrant homegrown movie industry. So I think they could have chosen someone from that background or from Japan or whatever, but then American audience wouldn't have known who she was. And I think in some ways Hollywood execs may be correct, but I think they're selling the audience way short. But they are scared out of their minds of the handful of internet trolls who, if they like the movie, they all like the movie. It's where you see these reaction videos where they all act the same, and it's all fake as crap, but they have 400,000 views, like in an hour.
I cannot stress enough how much I hate these reaction videos. Right. It's getting to a point now that I don't even know why they exist. Like, simply just put out a vlog or a review of it or a discussion about the topic.
Yeah, clicks. Yeah, but if
it's just about clicks.
You do a 5-minute, 6-minute video, and you can monetize it because and then you get 200,000 views on it in a week. I mean, that's some money. I mean, that's why. And so then that means ads were perhaps ads were seen. Now, granted, I don't know how they do detect if you got ad blockers, and they don't count that. So at least on revenue side, but I feel. At least I want to feel as a member of the audience. I know I have a brain, and I feel jaded and slighted by these Hollywood execs who are overthinking it, thinking, hey, they're not going to accept this. I liked Lucy Liu in some of movies that she was in, and a bit of action stuff with Jackie Chan and others. I think she was actually born in California, but it's like when they do a movie now, it's going to have a budget of $100 million or more. It's going to have 2 or 3 stars, actors, we'll say. The Wonder Woman movie is kind of a bit of people knew Gal from this other stuff. Plus, they got the hype machine going for her. But we had Chris Pine. So Chris Pine was Captain Kirk in the Star Wars reboot, and he's been in some other things. So he's a known quantity. So that's why I believe he was cast in that. I mean, he did very well in that role. But I think a big part of why he was in that role was for that. So the star power. That's why I keep saying Gal is not the star of the movie. Chris is. They could have easily chosen a good-looking, decent actor who wasn't well known as a co-star or also starring, but they did not, because they needed a name to pull into that movie. And so the Ghost in the Shell, same problem. The execs don't want to take a chance, which makes me wonder how solvent are these studios. Because if they're afraid of $100 million movie and making decisions about having which actors play which parts and is it a household name, and then they gross 300 or 400 million or whatever, so maybe they may only make 200 million. Where the heck's all that money going? These big movie studios that are making, some of these movies on the Marvel stuff are costing 200 million to make. Let's say 200 million in marketing, but they're grossing $700, $800, $900 million. Well, that's $500 million. Are the movie studios turning around and losing that on 18,000 different small films? I don't think so. Right? A lot of the smaller films are probably only $20, $30 million total budgets. And it makes me suspicious that that Disney and Marvel Studios and Warner Brothers and all, are they really teetering? I mean, we know Netflix has got $1 bajillion in the hole because they're idiots. But it makes me wonder, are these other studios, they're acting like they're carrying hidden debt off the books, and if they don't make their payments on time, some mafioso is going to show up and say, "Hey, Vinny's coming over for the payment." I mean, this fear seems, when you look at the numbers of these movies, we just had the DCEU stuff. I mean, you look at Marvel, and you look at the numbers. There's billions of dollars of profit, and yet they're afraid of, hey, we can't have an unnamed Japanese actress playing in Ghost in the Shell because we're afraid that we might lose $20 million on the movie. I don't get it. But I think in many ways they're selling the audience short. And because that movie didn't do that well, and people are talking about whitewashing this, and I don't think so. And they're also, if this is true stuff, though, how come we don't get, when it goes the other way, it's not blackwashing or whatever. We get this cast out of Spider-Man, and where they've recast
the brownwashing on that one,
right? How come if you point it out, you're the racist?
Oh no, I pointed that shit out, and people, and the one thing that happened with me, I think I told you guys the story already. How when I didn't watch Wonder Woman, one of my coworkers was like, "Oh, was it too feminist for you?" And then I told her, "No, that wasn't even feminist." Now Ghostbusters talked to me about how bullshitted that movie was.
Right.
And she stayed quiet. Yeah. Again, she's still younger. She's in her early 20s, still going to college. So it's that whole indoctrination bullshit that's going on in colleges. And I'm I already live in a fairly liberal city, which, by the way, is all the more hilarious when I went to a local comic shop where I work and saw some Star Wars stuff markdown, which, this is a thing. It's been said numerous times on the actual podcast. Jeff has said it numerous times. This has also been said and iterated by other channels, other people, other voices. These people, that they somehow managed to convince the execs, the head leaders in all these corporations and everything. They somehow managed to convince them that they speak for the entire audience. They assume that this small percentage, this very vocal minority, they assume that they speak for the entire audience, and thus they cave into their demands. The problem is this very vocal minority is exactly that, a very vocal minority, very minuscule. They don't actually invest money in any of the shit that, like merchandising products-wise. Where do you see them buying the action figures? Where do you see them buying the DVDs? Where do you see them buying any related merchandise, or even going to fucking 7-Eleven whenever they have a collector's cup or something?
Right.
They're nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. It's, well, and I think also in Diversity in Comics has also covered this many times, where Marvel went down this SJW line. People who don't even read them comics are suddenly in charge of them. And guess what? The people who do read them don't like the result. And the people who would agree with these people either don't buy it in great enough numbers. Well, that's probably true. They might be buying some of these. But again, it shows that they're a very vocal minority. And, if I'm not a fan of something, in my own view, I'm like, I may say, hey, I don't like it, and I may complain about it, but I don't feel that my opinion should be weighed very heavily if I'm not investing money into it. It's very different if I'm like reading these comic books and I'm buying them, been buying them for years, like Jeff and others. Yeah, my dollar now has some value and it should have some volume. I don't see various different types of movies that don't appeal to me. And if I watch one on accident and be like, oh, I don't feel, I mean, I have a right to complain, but I don't believe that I have a right to be heard. And because I'm not a participating member in that community, whatever that genre of film is, I don't tend to go on to see chick flicks very often. I didn't see Steel Magnolias or Fried Green Tomatoes or any of those other movies. And because of that, I don't feel like even if I say, oh, those movies suck, that's my opinion and that's about as much worth value as it has. I don't feel like the studio should kowtow to people like me and make those movies, something else and something that they're not. Hey, let's have an all-male Steel Magnolias. Because I'm not part of that community, so I don't feel like I should be heard. And now granted, that's a personal thing, but that's what it feels like to me. Is you have a handful of people who really aren't part of that community, and that's what. But they can get online and they get on Twitter and they have 100 accounts and there's 1,000 of them. Before you know it, holy crap! It looks like Twitter's blowing up. We look bad, and we better not do that. And that's what they're afraid of as well. And so I don't know how much it's a financial thing and how much of it is a fear of backlash thing. I did watch the Cinema Sins on Ghost in the Shell. There was a lot of goofiness and stupid things to criticize that movie for, other than the fact that Scarlett was cast in that role that was typically, it was based on a Japanese anime. I get it. But we've had other movies in the past, for decades that's happened where movies come over. We've had Bollywood movies get recast or the other way around. And, I think if it works in that community, then that's fine. I don't really care one way or the other. It's that, well, I take that back. When I care is when it's just pure pandering, right? If it's,
and there's a lot of that going on nowadays. It's getting to the point that everything is a checklist now.
Yeah, and if you want to take inspiration off of Shakespeare and make a Romeo and Juliet for the gay community, for instance, I don't care. I probably won't see it, but I don't have an effect. If it's supposed to be a mainstream movie and you want to pander to the gay community by having a gay Romeo and Juliet, that's a bit different. And I know it's probably minuscule and it's nuanced, the differences, but it's just when it's just pandering nonsense. That's when I just start saying, "Hey, this is just stupid," and then whatever. So I think we've talked that to death. But yeah, I think we agree that I have to agree that like you said, and it's not just women. There are men who are. I mean, George Clooney. Yes, he's a good actor. See, that's the thing. The difference too is some of these guys that are cast are decent. Not all of them. Zac Efron, I don't think he's not much of an actor. But
he's entertaining for what it's worth.
Right.
He's the candy mostly.
Yeah, but he's been in multiple movies that have flopped. So again, I think it goes both ways. And is there a good-looking actress in Hollywood who could play Wonder Woman better than Gal and still be beautiful? I bet you.
Hey, there's a lot of beautiful women in Hollywood,
Christina
and
Hendricks.
a lot of them much better than. Wait, who?
Christina Hendricks. She'd have to lose some weight to fit in that outfit.
Just make the outfit bigger.
That's what I was about to say. Like, damn, I don't care. Give her the tight. You know what? Give her the tight outfit. We're about to see
make those titties like want to bust out of that thing.
Yeah. Because I have to be fair. Linda Carter. When I watched those old Wonder Woman movies, she's not a TV show. She's not a great actress either. And she was I think she had modeled and done stuff. So it's not a new thing, but like I said, I agree with some of Cameron's points, and some of them I disagree with. But for me, the Sarah Connor character has, even in the first movie, has a bit more of a story arc. you have to kind of judge those movies on their times as well, because she is literally the damsel in distress, and Wonder Woman never is. But because she's the target of for termination, right? It is a race against time to see who gets to her first. But I think she starts to accept what Kyle Reese is telling her, and that character starts to change, and then she actually helps with destroying the Terminator, and then the movie ends with her going off into the the wilderness, I guess, I don't know, away from population, knowing she has to learn how to do things. And that's what we see in the second one, where she's taught her son, because he is a bit of a misfit, but he knows how to handle weapons, and he knows how to hack into stuff, right? He's breaks ATMs, he breaks security doors, he probably does stuff with the video game machines too. So he's not just a complete idiot misfit. He actually is. But again, his mom, he's kind of feeling rejected, and he's in a foster home, and all that kind of dynamic is what plays into that movie. So I don't know. But anyway, have we talked that to death enough, or can we go on, or do we got more to say?
Well, no, I mean, if anything, we could. It's funny. What you just said just now kind of makes the argument of which movie you would consider the better movie, Die Hard or Terminator 2. Your argument really just kind of makes me not want to watch Terminator 1 and 2 back to back, just so I can look at it from this perspective. Because I never really thought of it before like that, and not even when they did it earlier, I was still kind of very Die Hard-ish.
Right.
I'm still on that camp. Let's just face it, I like Die Hard because it's more than just more than just an entertaining movie. It's a guilty pleasure. One of the few action films that I have not I haven't stopped watching. As soon as Die Hard is on, I'm like, all right, am I busy doing anything else? Nope, sit down, let's watch Die Hard. Yeah. But if I would have seen Terminator 1 2, I'm like, okay, well, I'm busy. I will catch it next time. And it wasn't like I'm saying it's a bad movie. It's just that compared to the two, I would watch one over the other. But it's now you kind of actually made me want to not watch both of them.
Right. Well, and that's why I said before we even started that, to me, those movies are in two different genres. I look at Die Hard as an action movie, and Terminator as a sci-fi thriller. I don't see it as an action movie. So for me to compare them thematically is very difficult for me. You could argue that Die Hard 3 and Terminator 2 have a bit more similarity in what they are. One, still science fiction. Die Hard 3 to me feels like a cross between a thriller and an action movie, because of the element of, the bad guys are doing stuff that are affecting other people, and yes, it's still a car chase. I mean, I like of the whole. I mean, after the third one, I never watched. I think I saw parts of 4, and this is just horrid, and I couldn't watch anymore. Bruce Willis just got too old in my mind, and I'm like, I can't believe that this 50-year-old is doing this and not in the hospital after the first scene.
And that's how I'm gonna feel with when Death Wish comes out. I'm right. I'm hoping it's good because. Right. Oh my God! Speaking of politicized, they tried politicizing that one too.
Oh, of course. I mean, anything nowadays is going to be trying to be politicized.
Yeah, so they're talking about how it promotes gun violence and stuff like that. Back to that debate.
Back to that. Yeah, that's that. They blamed violence on the Three Stooges back in the '60s. It just whatever. But I'm not surprised. But anyway, yeah, to me.
I mean, if the Stooges teach violence, then I'm missing two friends. So,
yeah. Well, the thing is yes, those have violent tendencies, but we know it's not real. At least people should understand it's not real. They're not really poking each other in the eye, and there's ways of slapping people that sounds loud, and it might sting, but it's not doing the effects against people that they think it is. And so that's
theater. That's all it really is. It's just theater on a screen. That's all it is.
Well, it's a vaudeville act put on celluloid, and that's what they did. And yeah, and then we had the video games. I mean, good grief! I remember the stuff before Congress, and you've got D. Snyder before Congress talking about, this is with the Tipper Gore and all of the explicit lyrics and everything. And it was just so surreal. I'm watching this thinking, am I actually watching something that's happening in the country? And here we are 30 years later, and it's just only worse. So now we've got censorship out, all over the place.
Now it's all sexism in video games. Like somehow sexism is a greater crime to humanity than committing atrocities or shooting up a place or something.
Yeah.
Like that's where we're at right now. Which actually, I don't know if you want to go into the topic now about the whole box office.
Carl Weathers is dead.
Are you for real?
Yeah, he just got his arm shot off, and then this like invisible thing just stabbed him really, really deep with these big knives coming out of his hand.
Yeah.
So R.I.P. I think this is a documentary.
Yo.
Filmed in real time.
Yo, don't scare me like that ever again. That's a hell of a movie, too. Oh, man. Where was I just now?
So 2018 blockbuster, holy crap, calendar, I think is where you were headed.
Yeah, because I think if anything, this is all going to lead up to this basically, and why is it that why this is happening now? Because it's very, very telling that the last time this happened was 9/11. This was during an era where there was a lot of like unrest, there was a lot of insecurity. Like the country, just went through a major tragedy, and there were people in different, like they didn't know what to think. Was it something should we go to war? Should we stay at home? Who do we blame? It was so many different opinions, and it was always this level of like people weren't feeling safe anymore, and it was more of a safety in a more of a physical sense, in the sense that you can step outside and you don't know if today was going to be the day you die because some radical terrorist decided, hey, look, I'm a Akbar myself, just because reasons that possibly make no sense to a rational mind.
Snack
and I
bar.
think what?
I said, snack bar.
Eat a Snickers. Oh man, but I feel like we're kind of back to that. Only with the difference is it's not terrorism now, rather I would say radicalized nature of what essentially is this whole political, identity politics bullshit that's going on.
Well, I think that's the terrorism, is the identity. I mean, Antifa. I mean, if we finally got them as a hate group or something, I mean, they're basically.
Wait, is it official?
I thought.
Yeah, no, they finally recognized him as like a violent hate group.
Yeah, the Homeland Security or something did.
But I think they also have I think the Juggalos are also on that group too, are on that listing. I think they're like officially like a gang or something.
I don't even know what the Juggalos are.
That's probably a good thing.
But that, yeah, because now, okay, you have a different opinion than I do. I'm going to call you a Nazi and smack you. I mean, that's for the last year or so. That's been a very real reality, especially if you were more visible. I mean, look at Milo Yiannopoulos. I mean, he was wearing a bulletproof vest for some of his speeches. And
yeah, like that's ridiculous.
And a lot of it, some of his stuff is opinion, and a lot of his stuff is just stating what research has shown. And the guy at Google who lost his job just talking about the research. He was just kind of concerned that here's this research showing some stuff, and I don't think our diversity policy is in line with what we know. And he was kind of more along the lines that I think about diversity, as far as when I'm, especially in the development world, being a diversity of thoughts and ideas and concepts and things, so that you can kind of pick out the pieces that are better, which parts are better and which parts aren't, and have a good discussion. And he's just talking. Much of what people were reacting to was him talking about research being done by other people, and that's why he got canned for it. And the identity politics is becoming a really big thing. And so, I think this is why we're getting some movies, and I think identity politics plays into things like Wonder Woman, and we'll see it with Black Panther. When the Black Panther movie comes out, if it is not great, I mean, it probably needs to be better than Thor or Ant-Man in some ways, and it should be. But if it's not great and people aren't saying it's not great because they're afraid to criticize a movie with a black lead actor, I think it will prove my point that probably 65 to 75% of the support for Wonder Woman is because it's a woman.
That's it. No, it's true because it's not even just like Wonder Woman. It means entertainment in general. People are afraid to just say, "Hey, look, this is a bad movie," or "This sucks," or "I don't like this about this." It's an opinion. That's all it really is. It's just words. At the end of the day, they really should have no effect on people, other than just a temporary emotional reaction. Not to the point where it's gotten to the point that now you have to watch what you say, not because what you're saying is wrong, but because you're afraid the other individual is not going to like what you say, and then is going to react violently. And it's not even just that one person. Now all of a sudden everything is about ganging up on people. It's like the numbers game. It's like there's strength in numbers. And I don't know if it's because people actually, because I don't think it's always that, these large groups, it's because they actually believe in this nonsense. I think it's because they themselves don't want to be perceived as some kind of bigot or some kind of, I don't know, fuck, I don't even want to say Nazi, but unfortunately that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. Well, and the Antifa is a very fascist organization. BLM is a very fascist organization. I was listening to a Peter Schiff video when he was on the Joe Rogan show recently, and on his take, it's all forms of socialism. Socialism is kind of like the point of the spear, and you have communism, you have fascism. They're to the left and right of that, but it's on that tyranny spear. But they all have the exact same tactics. Divide people up into as many groups as possible. Blame something. So this time around, it's white cisgendered straight males that are the problem with society. And even though they created this country, but they also went to war with one another multiple times over the centuries. And that's the problem in the world: is white cisgender straight males. And don't look at their scientific achievements, and don't look at that they put but they only made it to the moon because black women did the math. I mean, it's like,
no, they didn't.
Well, that's what the movie said.
Hey, they was Kangs, yo. They was Kangs. And
yeah,
shit.
well, like I said, my people was Vikings. We tore shit up.
Yeah.
Yeah, my people make churros, apparently, so I was all good.
Apparently they don't, because I've asked you for them I don't know how many times.
Well, it's not like we fucking know how to fly them over to you. All right?
There's these special things. They're called boxes, and you pack them in them, and you take them down to this place. It's like got a red, white, and blue eagle logo. It says United States Post Office.
Well, they won't let me bring my burro inside. They keep saying they don't allow animals.
Well, then what? Then they should have pointed at you and said you couldn't go inside either on that policy.
Oh,
fucking foreigner.
Did he? Oh,
damn! I got nothing.
Okay. Well, you went all scraggly. I thought you were going to be cutting out again.
I thought I actually upset him. And then I was going to call him a pussy if I did.
No, I mean, I was trying to think of a comeback. I couldn't think of anything. I'm like, fuck, he got me.
It's like, oh, good one. You fucking pansy.
Just spit in his cereal when he's not looking.
Hey, I'm not always the sharpest person out there, so you probably will win a lot of the debates just on wit alone.
So
it's a beaner thing. Just
a beaner thing.
With it.
So I just finished my O'Fallon pumpkin beer. It's delicious like always. Tastes like a liquid pumpkin pie. And I just want to let you know that I'm opening up another one out of that variety pack. It is a Saison de Citruelli. I don't know. Season of the pumpkin. It's a farmhouse pumpkin ale.
Saison. Yes.
Saison. Croissant.
It's already.
A little sour, hints of pepper, maybe hints of clove. But that might be buried in the pumpkin.
Well, they've been good for lately.
Who, pumpkins?
No, the French.
Not a whole lot. So let's finish out episode 86 as far as topics we wanted to. And one of them was the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. I think it's a stupid idea. I hope they don't really make it. There was also a troll. Someone wrote a trolling blog post about an Aunt Beru movie starring Jennifer Lawrence.
I can't believe people fell for that shit. God, they're fucking dumb.
I saw that and I'm like, either this guy's trolling or Disney's trolling because I want to move the frickin' story forward. I don't need to know when Ben Kenobi was taking a crap on Tatooine, waiting for Luke to show up, or how he was guarding. I mean, just I didn't care in '77. I didn't care in '80. I didn't care in '83. I don't care now. Move the story forward. Do something new. Now, I guess it gets back to our other discussions where the movie producers are scared out of their shorts to take a chance on anything. And so we're going to get Empire 2.0 and we're going to get Jedi 2.0 and then who knows what they're going to
Ball Sweat 3.0.
Yeah.
Brainmuffin. They are trying something new. Haven't you seen the Porgs?
Yes. And listeners, I will be making videos on my channel on how to bake porg and fry porg. If I get my
I'm really hungry.
grill out, maybe I'll do some grilled porg. I'm going to have fun with the porgs and all kinds of stuff when I get off my lazy butt.
I would love some fucking pork rib tips.
Yeah, but the porg ribs are very fatty.
Pulled porg. Some pulled pork would be really good now.
We're going to have cooked, we'll do pork wings and pork breasts, and we may even bake an entire pork.
Can you ferment it? Can we ferment it and get a good ale out of it?
No.
Ugh.
Well,
you can't do that with animals.
There are some old recipes where you take a turkey, cook it, put it in a bag, pulverize it, and then put it in your wort for a week.
That sounds awful.
All right, I know what I'm doing to a pork later tonight.
So, yeah.
Literally
pork,
awful.
That's like the I'll have to dig that out. I saw it in some book. They were talking about some old beer recipes.
About to go Ummer Fudd on the pork.
Right. So, porg, they mysteriously taste a lot like chicken, but not quite. It's like it feels.
So does alligator.
Yep. And so, I'm gonna actually buy a Star Wars toy. I'm gonna buy a porg, and I'm gonna have it in my videos, and we're gonna do great things with the porgs. All of them legal for you true hillbillies.
Oh, thank God.
And Irish folk. So don't go crazy.
Better or less said.
So
talking about all this food between porgs and pork and gators, I'm kind of hungry right now.
Yeah. So that ought to give you my opinion on the Obi-Wan movie, and it doesn't need to happen. Should never happen. Screw Disney. This we got to have a Star Wars movie every year because they got money to make back. So,
Brian, I have a question since you're the beer guy. How long would a half barrel stay like fresh? Like if I tap it and like am pumping it and like filling it up for myself.
If you keep it refrigerated, of a half barrel of what?
Beer.
I know beer, but what are we talking about? Are we talking about a 4% lager, or are we talking about, a 12% barrel aged?
I haven't really thought that far ahead. I'm just looking on this website for the O'Fallon Brewing Company, getting more information. I mean, I know about them enough because they're a local microbrew, but I'm all of a sudden I decided it'd be kind of a cool idea to get a half barrel and just sit around drinking it all weekend.
Yeah, if you put that in a kegerator, I mean, until you open it, it'll keep pretty well. Well, some of the beers, I mean, it will deteriorate. But the biggest thing with beer is what its alcohol content is, what its hop level is, and then how it's stored. So a keg is not going to get light struck, so you really only have to make sure it doesn't get too warm. And then once you've tapped it, to make sure you don't get any oxygen in the beer and have it oxygenate. So you keep a layer of CO2 on there, which you should in a kegerator. You shouldn't have any or if you just tap it. But really, if you're keeping it cool and once open, so if you're doing, say, a 6 to 8% beer, you can probably keep for a couple months before you open it, and then definitely for once you've tapped it, it should be able to stay for a couple weeks because you're adding the CO2 in, so you're not going to have it go flat. and you just want to make sure no oxygen gets in, because if oxygen gets in and reactivates that yeast, man, it'll taste like something literally died in it.
So your yeast will get infected.
Yeah. Yep. So you could get bacteria. Now, if you get an 8, 9, 10, 12, or let's say 9+%, usually the alcohol levels becomes high enough you're not going to get an infection, but you don't want it to oxygenate, which will give it an odd flavor, and it may actually also cause clouding in the beer, what they call a chill haze. So it's fine, but it just have a haze, and that is a form of oxidation. It's usually, if I remember correctly, the hot break when the beer was made wasn't good enough. Yeah, so it really depends on what, if you go get a keg or a half barrel of Bud Light, that ain't going to last for 3 weeks after you open it, because it just doesn't have the alcohol, doesn't have the hops. But if you get a nice IPA, say 6 or 7%, or even a double, that'll keep, because it has the alcohol. The hops and the alcohol are what help preserve the beer. So the hoppier the beer and the higher the alcohol, the longer it'll keep. In general.
Jeff Hicks, if you're listening, tell me what kind of beer you want, and when you show up to Camp Kendo, I will get a half barrel, and we will just fucking plow it.
But if you're going to plow it, it won't make a difference. But yeah, I've got beers.
A half barrel is only 15 gallons. I think we can handle that in a weekend.
I actually still have some stouts and some other barley wines that are almost 10 years old, and I had one not too long ago. I did a review of a stout. I want to say it was from 2008, of a Stone Imperial Russian Stout, and it was still quite good. And that's just been sitting in my basement now. My basement doesn't stay really cold. We're talking 65 to 75 degrees, so it's not 55 degree optimal temperature, but it is out of the light. It's in a squirreled away, and that wasn't open. That was it was obviously, but it's 10% alcohol, and that's why that beer could sell her for so long. So there you go, listeners, about beer questions like that. You can definitely ask me those types of things. But yeah, now you're making me thirsty.
So I got this fucking Saison fucking croissant thing going on right now. It's pretty good.
Yeah. So 2009 was that Stone Imperial Russian Stout, and I also reviewed a 2010 Old Guardian, which was still quite bitterly hoppy, even though it's 7 years old. So, but those are 10% beers, and that's part of why they keep. You want to keep it away from light, you want to keep it away from heat, and then once you've opened it, you want to keep away from oxygen. So that's why you can tap and have your tap going with either CO2 or nitrogen injection, and it'll go for quite a while. But if you get a growler and you go and open it and you pour some, you reseal it, put it back in your refrigerator, and you go a day or two later and it tastes kind of weird, it's not just the refrigerator smells. It's the oxygen that got introduced when you opened it, and is now mixed with the beer, and it's starting to oxygenate. And oxygen is a very corrosive material, gas. I mean, it mixed with water, you get, look at what iron is. Ferrous oxide. So iron oxide, because the oxygen is what binds with the iron atoms and causes rust. So the oxygenization of things, it's a very strange gas in that it's necessary for life to exist, but amino acids, which are very necessary for us to function, cannot live in an oxygen environment. They have to live in an oxygen-free environment. This is why you have protein powders will also degrade. Well, so will your beer once oxygen is introduced. So that's probably far more than you thought you were going to get as an answer. But there you go. There's a little bit of high school chemistry thrown at you too.
Well, actually, this is pretty cool to know. Now, next time I get a keg or something, I know what to do.
All right. I haven't used it in a long, long time, and who knows what's living in it now. But I made a dark lager, many years ago that had this barrel thing sitting in a secondary refrigerator, and I had carbonation from the yeast itself. So I did a secondary in this thing, and then when I put it in the refrigerator, I had a CO2 cartridge that I put in the top, and it's not enough pressure to inject into the beer, but it puts the whole idea was to put a layer of CO2 over the beer itself, and to kind of eat that oxygen up, and so it would stay. And I had that in my refrigerator for a month. So, and it was just a spigot type seal. So you opened it, gravity flow, skimmer off the top, and it had an area on the bottom for the yeast to fall out of solution and kind of settle on the bottom. So, and then a lot of breweries, like I know Sierra Nevada does this, and a lot of the bigger breweries, when they grind their grain and stuff, they'll get the grain a little wet so that it grinds better, but they do it with a lot of nitrogen gas injected into the system, so to push out as much oxygen as possible. So yeah, so when it comes to beer, the only time you want oxygen is when your yeast is fermenting the sugars. Before that, and after that, you want none. So there you go. All right. Any other beer questions?
Nah, really.
Can you tell I've been doing this a while?
Well, yeah, we kind of can.
So I think 86 is done. So let's go on to 87. We talked about some stuff with Die Hard and Terminator. There's a whole bunch of stuff here. I actually want to jump around because I want to get to, while it's semi-recent what we've been talking about, the rumored or potential or going to happen or may never happen, I don't really know what to make of it, all-female remake of The Lord of the Flies.
Oh, I read another thing about it. It's getting backlash.
From
People
whom?
are bitching about it.
From women or from men?
Really?
Women are complaining about it because there's a man that wrote it and directed it.
Yeah.
And other people are complaining about it because the idea is that the reason why these guys are struck on this island is because it's like a story about toxic masculinity and stuff like that, and that the entire basis of the book and the plot points of the book have to do with like men enclosed on an island bickering and fighting amongst themselves, which I don't know. I could see where you could turn around and have a woman, because if you're around a group of women, there's just as much toxic femininity, whatever the fuck that is, because they're just as catty and bitchy.
Women hate each other.
At least when guys are bickering and are at each other's throats, we still get stuff done, like the Empire State Building, and you know.
Yeah. Did you guys read
the
this
Olympics.
book in high school?
Yes.
I remember reading it sometime, I think, in middle school, and that was about it.
Or middle school, high school. Yeah, I remember reading this book saying, I could kind of understand how you could have this, devolving of polite society, as it were. And because don't they end up killing Piggy? Don't they chase him and kill him?
I think so.
Yeah.
They killed the kid. They just like start. I think it was like jamming him with. I remember watching the movie. Like they just start jamming him with like spears they made and shit like that.
Yeah, because I know they chase. I never seen the movie, but I read the book.
Why they killed him? I think they killed him because they thought he did something, or because they thought he was like a monster or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, but the one big problem I had with it is because of my, I was a Boy Scout, so I'm reading this saying, okay, I have some survival skills. Maybe I can survive on an island like this, maybe I can't, but I can understand people who believe they're supposed to be in charge. They're not real leaders. They think they're leaders, but they're not. And
that sounds like something that we're going through nowadays,
right? And then this devolving into clans.
Again, starting to sound a little more relevant now.
Right. And so I could kind of see it, but I really couldn't buy it. But that was one of the problems I had with the show Lost, even though I watched that show till the end and went, F you guys. I wasted 5 years of my life watching this stupid show.
I never watched it, and then when it came down the pipe, I was laughing at everybody that got suckered into it.
Right, but it's the same idea where people start dividing. And granted, there was a similar idea. I wouldn't say the same idea because there was a group already on the island that also started doing things. But you do see this repeated where there's, you have a handful of people, and somehow they survive well enough that they have time to bicker and argue. When I'm like, wouldn't they be constantly wanting to find food? I mean, you see this in the Survivor show, which again, another one I haven't watched in a long time. These people lose like 30 pounds because it's a TV show and they're just bickering and arguing. But if you were really trying to survive and had no clue if anybody was ever going to find you, shelter and food, I think, would be your only concern almost every day. And I don't know if I believe you'd have time to start a war amongst yourselves, but because to me, when I look at human history, when we actually see conflict, is when there is enough of shelter and food that now they have, men in particular, have time to look at other things and covet, hey, I want that land over there, or I want what they've got. When all you're doing is...
I want that chick with the big titties.
Right. If all you're trying to do is if we don't kill a deer tomorrow, we all starve to death, that's a different story, because you got to have enough energy to hunt. So if you're not finding food, you're in real hurt. And after end of about a week, you're pretty much gone. Or water. You got 3 days to find water. You got 3 days to find water that's not going to make you sick and give you, or like if you get dysentery or something like that. Now you got another hydration problem, and you have about 4, maybe 5 days of energy to find a decent enough food supply for you to find a bigger food supply. So
I don't have to worry about that. I've got a food supply right down the road.
Yeah. So at this point, I don't really give a crap. If they want to make it all, I don't care if they make. I don't care. Just make the movie, but if there is a backlash like there was with Ghostbusters, if people complain, you better suck it up and take your lumps.
I'm gonna give them just one word of advice: just go through with it and see what happens. That's it. I'm in the situation. I'm in the same camp you're in right now. I really at this point just stop caring. It's like I don't want to get invested in anything anymore because everything is always a backlash. Everything is always a checklist, and it's really it's a lot of there's a lot of reasons why we're in the situation we're in right now, and the fact that we're even having this discussion about a movie that really should not be getting remade. I don't know, it just makes me wonder sometimes. Is this really the only thing that people have left to bicker about? Like you said, we should be concerned about things like shelter and as basic survival instincts. We should be concerned things about like shelter, food, water, right? And we have plenty of that, and it seems like for some reason that's just not enough. We got to bicker over like power struggles and shit like that.
Well, I think that's kind of my point, that when
Exactly.
you have enough, that's when all that bickering and arguing. I remember, I think it was Time Team, a BBC show that used to be on. Oh no, that was on Channel 4, I think. But this was one of the things that they were talking about, structures when they find stuff during the Ice Age, where there aren't enough people that are coming across each other. And it's not until we start to get plenty, when the planet starts to warm, that they start noticing things like walls and stockades being built for defensive purposes. And so that's one of the theories, is that when there's plenty, that's when we have a bigger population, and this is when people have time to sit around and essentially make war, if you will. So that, I think that in some ways, The Lord of the Flies, the book, anyway, when I read it, it kind of pushed me in the wrong direction in many ways, because it's like survival would be. Now, granted, I've never been in that situation, so I could be completely wrong, but I do agree with what Kendo was saying. I wouldn't say toxic masculinity, but this masculine devolving a society. That's one of the things that. One of the theories of what makes a society and why we have militaries and we have wars is to kind of get rid of men, because when there's too many, it's a problem. But like I said, if they're going to make it. I don't give a crap. And if it's a good movie, it's a good movie. But again, I don't think it'll be good, especially if it's just about the politics of the question as opposed to trying to make a better movie. Because I could understand telling it from a woman's perspective. What would it be like if a bunch of women or some marooned young women in this case marooned on an island. I think it has potential if they keep the identity politics out of it. But if that's what it's going to be filled with, which is essentially Ghostbusters was filled with. I mean, Ghostbusters had a lot of potential to be a decent movie, but they had to make it about putting men down and men shaming and the patriarchy and feminism, and it didn't do well.
And, punching a ghost in the dick.
My question is this. So when they go to kill the female version of Piggy, is it going to be like a chubby chick? Because then everyone's going to piss and moan about that there's a chubby girl called Piggy.
Right. Because there was a chubby boy called Piggy.
That's why he was called Piggy.
Right. Yeah, I think it will, if they go forward with it, and especially when they start casting, that'll tell us what they're going to do with it. Because if let's say it's a cast, let's say they do 7 or 8 main actors and a handful of extras, and it's a checklist, right? We have the Asian, we have the European, we have the African, we have the Hispanic, we have this, we have the lesbian, we have the trans, we have the pansexual, then we'll know that they're not going to take it serious and it's just identity politics.
Actually, if that's the route it goes, this is going to be a fun shit show to watch.
Yeah. It may be. I mean, Ghostbusters, the crap around the movie was more entertaining than the movie itself. So, all right. So, did we talk about the Tick show yet? I don't remember.
Oh, let's talk about that.
Here, go ahead. You go ahead and talk, Liquid Metal Pro.
Well, really I haven't seen it yet. I'm actually wanting you guys to kind of sell me on this.
I haven't seen it either. It sounds like a great show.
Here's the only selling you need for the Tick. Watch it. It's 6 episodes. It goes by really quick. It's really fucking good. It's probably the best actual regular, made for a streaming service television show ever, and probably my favorite superhero TV show ever. It's that good. It's that good. Watch it.
On that alone, I take your word for it because I know you've. You've had some great taste, and we pretty much have a lot of movies that we similarly enjoy. So I'll definitely check it out. The only problem is I don't have my own Prime account, so I have to ask my sister, maybe see if she'll lend me her account. And
it's not a big deal. Yeah, just ask her. Just be like, hey, can I use your Prime login to watch a TV show?
She's gonna be like, yo, what are you gonna watch on my thing? I'm gonna watch The Tick.
Yeah, just tell her, be like, there's a show called The Tick. My friend said I need to watch it. It's 6 episodes long. Can I borrow your Prime login? I don't know why she wouldn't.
No, I'm pretty sure she would. I mean, she's not a prude, but I think she probably would just do it to give me a hard time. So I just got to go for that.
That's all you need to do. It's like I said, it's really good. The episodes go by real quick and they're very easy to watch.
Actually, now that we brought up The Tick, real quick, interesting trivia, because I know I mentioned to you gentlemen before how I collect the Funko Pops.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ones that San Diego had this past year, this year, when San Diego had their Comic-Con, was the Glow in the Dark Tick one, right?
Yeah.
That was a Barnes & Noble's exclusive. Typically, anything that winds up from Comic-Con and usually winds up at a Barnes & Noble's or something that ain't like a GameStop or a Hot Topic doesn't really sell well. That thing, that Tick, the hype behind it was so real. I could not find any store that still carried any amount of those Funkos, and online it sold out. It sold out almost immediately. So that was definitely what when you talk about merchandise related to a product and whether people are invested in or not. I don't know what it was about the Tick, but people really saw something in it from the beginning. So I'm only hoping that if it is as good as you're telling me, that it does become successful and they continue with this another season or something, because I never really got the chance to get invested in the Tick before as a kid when they had the cartoon and they had the live action. But I already told you that one scene that I saw, which was where the Tick's friend Arthur finally gets a date, and the Tick is feeling all lonely. He watches a documentary on moth mating habits, and it says something about how when they're done, the female eats the male. So he thinks his friend is gonna die, and he cock blocks him inadvertently.
Yeah, no, the Tick's great. Just because, like, in the comics, it was something totally different. The cartoon series was entertaining. The Patrick Warburton live action was good. It was a shame that they canceled it after only like 9 episodes or whatever it was.
What network was that on?
It was on Fox.
Fox.
Yeah, it was on Fox.
Yeah, see, yeah.
That's also on Amazon Prime, so you'll be able to watch that too.
Oh, sweet. Oh, I'm definitely gonna beg her to watch.
Because Jeff messaged me and he says you have to watch The Tick, and I said, all right, I'll do it tomorrow. And so the next day I sat down and was like, all right, I'll watch a couple episodes or whatever. Next thing I know, I'd watched all 6. I sat down at 10 o'clock to watch The Tick, and the next thing I know, it's midnight, and I've watched all 6 of them. I was like, dude, that's great. So then I was like, oh, shit, the old one's on here, too. And next thing I know, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I watched all the old ones.
Damn, I might do that after the stream.
All right. Yeah, I like The Tick. I don't think I ever read the comic. I saw the cartoon some, and then I saw the Patrick Warburton show, and I really like that. There's another Bring It On movie? Oh. Anyway, cool.
This is where
let's keep moving. We've been at this an hour. Really, only been at this an hour and a half. It seems a lot longer than that. So
well, that's because you guys spent like 85 days talking about Wonder Woman again.
Yeah, whatever. So 2018. Yes, I do. I want good movies, dagnabbit. I'm tired of the same old bull crap. 2018, where we're going to have, I don't know if it's truly every week or it's going to average, we're going to have a blockbuster every frickin' weekend. Either this is going to be one of the greatest years for Hollywood. This is my opinion. It's going to be unbelievable, and people are going to see these movies. Or it's going to be, by June, it's going to be, we will have studios out of business. I think it's unbefrickin-leavable how many movies are coming out next year that are in the $100 million plus budget range. I don't know. This may be finally when the blockbuster bubble bursts. It may actually finally happen.
I don't know. I mean, again, the fatigue is settling in for me, and I know most of the stuff that's coming out is going to be either some sequel adaptation and what was the other one? Or sequel adaptation or remake, I think it is.
Yep. It's pretty much either a remake or a reboot. A reboot or a sequel. That's pretty much all they do.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna wait till a few trailers drop, and then I look at them and see what I'm just gonna base my opinion around that, and if I'm really invested in it, or like someone, like, let's say when my brother or some random chick that I'm dating wants to go out or something, I may be like, hey, look, let's go check this out, or let's go do this. And hopefully it's good enough, definitely if I'm asking to check out, hopefully it's good enough to get me laid. So I'm like, all right, okay, so it wasn't a waste. And then just call it a day. Don't get me wrong, I'm still hyped for Avengers, but, that's about it.
Yeah, I want to see that, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big moviegoer since I got out of high school. I mean, when I lived in Germany and that was about the only thing to do on the base was go to the movies, I went quite often, especially in the summertime. But when it's only $2 to go to the movies and get a Coke and a popcorn, it's pretty easy to do too. I really, even if these movies are great, the problem is the cost of tickets. A family of 4 spending $60 every weekend to see a movie. I don't think it's going to happen. They're going to be, and some of these movies where you do have some areas, sometimes when a movie comes out and there's another big one the next weekend, another big one the next weekend, another big one the next weekend, that opening weekend, it's going to be all it's going to get. Because there's going to be that opening weekend, and it's on, in your Cineplex, it's on 5 different screens, but the next week there's going to be another movie that's going to be on those 5 different screens. So it's not only people and cost and time, it's those movies are going to get pushed to the small screen in the back of the Cineplex that no one wants to go to, and it's only going to be at 2:30 and 4:30. You know, so it's also the number of showings are going to be a problem for it. So
yeah, damn, like I really am looking at some of the movies that are coming out for next year, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll watch this, or maybe I'll consider this, but then it's like, you know, there's so many movies now. Like it wasn't like, I don't know. I mean, I still remember a time when the movie, like when it was a summer blockbuster, it was a summer blockbuster. It wasn't like you were oversaturated with like 10 different movies within the span of like several months. Like now it's like,
because everything has to be a blockbuster now.
Yeah, it's kind of like this past year alone. Just look at what did we have this past year alone?
Wonder Woman.
We had Spider-Man: Homecoming. Oh God, less said about that, the better.
Well, we had, wasn't Civil War this year, or was that last year?
That was last year.
That was last year.
Suicide Squad was last year.
Logan this year, right?
Huh?
Logan was this year, wasn't it?
Logan was this year.
Kong Skull Island.
Yeah.
I still have not seen that yet. And I know everybody keeps telling me why haven't I?
It's really good. I went into, like, I love those types of movies. I fucking love King Kong and all that stuff. And I was pretty skeptical because Peter Jackson fucking ruined it for me. And so I'm like, God, this might suck. But the whole movie was great. I loved it. It was awesome. Great movie. Watch it.
All right,
love it.
You know what? I'm gonna start this right now. Movies I need to watch. I'm gonna start.
The Founder was also out this year. That was a good movie too.
Okay, so let me put down the.
That's on Netflix, I believe.
Oh, The Founder. But see, that's not a blockbuster.
No, it's not a blockbuster, but it was just really fucking good.
Yeah, that's kind of like.
John Wick 2. John Wick 2 is out this year.
Yeah. Oh no, but that I'm waiting for. There's this thing that FYE does before I cancel my membership, where I can get a $25 gift card after 4 to 8 weeks for joining the club that they have, and on top of a 10% and an extra 10% I can get for like a used copy or a new copy, whatever. I'm gonna wait for when that comes in the mail and buy both DVDs and just watch them. I'm just gonna watch both of them because I've been wanting to see both movies for a while now. But aside from budget and money issues and trying to prioritize what I want to do,
if you want to watch it before then, next time I'm going back down to Camp Kendo Wednesday to get some more preparation shit done. Father Slice has my copies.
Mm-hmm.
He's watched because he saw the first one before I did, and then I immediately went and bought both of them because I rented them. I Redboxed both of them, and I was like, as soon as I got done Redboxing them, I was immediately on Amazon buying both movies. I can always have it on my TV, and we can do Skype, and I can just fucking turn the thing towards the camera. Now, here you go.
All right. If I definitely have an opportunity for that, I'll let you know.
All right. Ghost in the Shell was also this year.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch that.
Get Out was this year too.
Yeah. Now that was a movie that turned into a blockbuster, but it was what, $12 million to make or something crazy like that, and they made $400 million or something. I mean that was
I don't know. I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it just because I was like, I don't trust that movie.
Yeah, supposedly there's like a major twist at the end, and like you didn't see coming. But then my cousin who saw the movie was like, that twist sucked, and I was like, whatever.
All right,
maybe
it wasn't as big as, so it's $4.5 million budget, $175 million. Yeah, Nick really likes that movie.
It just to me screamed like white people are evil.
Yeah,
and then everybody I like that I knew of that saw the movie was like, it's not really like that. But then like I'm reading over the plot thing and I'm like, no, it sounds like that's what it is.
Because again, it's. I mean, they probably maybe at some point were thinking, hey, look, let's just gonna do some type of satire or something like that. And I mean, come on, this has been Key and Peele's thing for like a while now. This is nothing new.
Yeah.
So that what is it? The Jordan Peele doing the whole hey, a script on white people are evil, and then there's a plot twist at the end where it's like, oh, it's not like that. It just sounds like something that comes out of their show. So I really wasn't surprised when I heard about it, and even I don't even remember what he told me how it ended.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I remember that. I remember now. But
Well,
it's not even worth talking about. Like really, like it's just like, all right, you want to watch it, then do so at your own risk.
Guardians 2,
yeah.
Baywatch,
Baywatch.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Baywatch was a dud.
Yeah, The Mummy.
Wasn't Pirates of the
also-
Caribbean pretty much a dud too?
Oh, dude, it was Pirates and The Mummy both flopped hard.
Yeah.
They
Holy
did not
shit.
make anything close.
So this year with
Same thing with the Transformers The Last Night.
yeah, so this year we get about a third or maybe a fourth as many are already scheduled for next year. And we already had, was it 2 weekends ago, we had the biggest drop in movie year over year since 9/11. And next year we're going to get, I just see it as a complete and total disaster. It may not even take till June. It might be April and it's going to be a wreck. I mean, it's a combination of people don't have money to spend $100 every weekend to see movies as a family. And then because there's another one coming down the pike a week or two or at most, that opening weekend is going to be the big. I mean, that will literally make or break some of these movies because the next weekend they might be on one screen only 5 times a day, or it might be sharing something that's a little bit more popular but been out the week before, and that isn't going to do well. I think where these movies may make some of that back is in licensing fees with DVD rentals and streaming, but that's going to take a year plus.
Yeah, and looking at what we've got coming up, there's a Lego movie, Flatliners, Blade Runner movie.
Flatliners again a reboot. A Blade Runner sequel. Star Wars sequel. Yep.
I'm looking at the Jigsaw movie.
Oh God.
That's a reboot, isn't it?
Thor Ragnarok.
Sequel.
Daddy's Home 2. Justice League. Death Wish. There's another remake.
Yeah.
I just hope that movie's any
good.
good.
The Disaster Artist.
No, there you go. That'll be an original movie.
Yeah.
That would be funny if that's doesn't do as well as the actual movie it's based on.
Yeah, Star Wars, The Last Get Fucked, Jumanji.
Oh, that isn't out yet?
The $6 billion Man, and that's it, pretty much for the rest of the year.
That's getting a remake?
What?
The $6 billion Man's getting a remake?
I think this is a sequel because the $6 Million Man is what you're thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Looking ahead to 2018, there's another Insidious movie coming out. A Maze Runner, Cloverfield, 50 Shades Free.
Another Cloverfield?
Black Panther. Some movie called Gringo. Tomb Raider.
Well, I know what people are going to protest for that movie about.
Pacific Rim. Oh, Tyler Perry. We got another Tyler Perry.
There you go. Perfect.
X-Men, The New Mutants, Super Troopers 2, Avengers Infinity War, Star Wars Han Solo, Deadpool 2, Ocean's 8, Incredibles 2, Jurassic World.
Ocean's 8, that's the all-female one, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
The Purge 4, Ant-Man and Wasp.
Robin Hood, Ready Player One.
Mission Impossible 6, The Predator, another Tyler Perry's Medea movie.
There's a new X-Men movie coming out next year.
Yep, Scarface remake, and that takes us through pretty much to September of next year. So for the next calendar year, next 12 months down the tube, that's what we're getting.
Hey, wait a minute. May 11th, Life of the Party, Melissa McCarthy. That's your summer blockbuster right there.
Let me go get my gun.
Oh. I don't. We don't have guns in.
So Han Solo comes out.
Gonna fucking Dwyer myself.
May 25th, Han Solo is going to be released.
Suicides, baby.
And then a week later, Deadpool 2. That Han Solo movie is going to be gone.
Rushed.
Yeah.
Well, Chewie, we knew him well.
Yeah, because Han Solo, the Han Solo movie is going to be in theater. I bet you by the time Deadpool will be the one people want to see. Ocean's 8, no one will give a crap about.
No.
Sandra Bullock's in that?
Yep.
I think you also got Rihanna in that too, so that lets you know.
Tight pants, I might go see that. But Bumblebee, standalone movie. There you go. Incredibles 2. I didn't even know they were making another one.
Well, people have been asking for that one for a while now, so...
Yeah, I was happy with them never making a sequel. Jurassic World 2 I could give a crap about. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yeah, don't give a crap. Spy Who Dumped Me. It sounds like a Austin Powers with females, so that looks like it's a train wreck. Skyscraper. I'm skipping. What did I just skip? Oh, Hotel Transylvania 3. And never heard of the other two. Mission Impossible 6. They got the geriatric Tom Cruise to play again.
Still running from his gay thoughts.
Yeah, but when you look at these release dates, you know, the Predator reboot, Scarface. I mean, the Predator is out, and then a week later it's Scarface and Meg. Yeah, oh crap! One of the dogs just farted. It's just ridiculous. I don't see. I think the whole fatigue is it's gonna be. Well, we'll see. But I think by May or June we'll know how well it's gonna go because people are gonna save up. The Han Solo movie I don't think will do well. I don't think it'll do anywhere near what Rogue One did. And I was surprised with what it did. And it came out in a little bit of isolation. But having Deadpool a week later, yeah, that's going to sink it. And it doesn't help that no one wants to see it. Rogue One really wasn't necessary either. I'm sure there are. I know there'll be someone, a listener in the comments, I want to see that movie, you old man. You old jackass.
Then watch it and shut up.
But it isn't going to be any good. I'm sorry.
Let them waste their money. That's their fault.
Yeah. Rogue One was a great comedy, though. That was one of the best comedies I've seen in a long time.
What I'll say is, the only good thing I'll say about Rogue One, even though I haven't seen the movie, is Felicity Jones is a beautiful woman, and if the opportunity ever presents itself, I would definitely make babies with that woman.
So, speaking of which, was it your...
Don't hold your breath.
Was it your... did you send that link, that photo, Lego Metal Pro, where it had Sergeant Jen Erso?
Yeah.
I saw that on the action figures, and I was like, they never call her Sergeant in that movie. At least, or I missed it.
Oh, see, I didn't even know about that because, again, I didn't see the movie, so I was like a little curious, why did you say that? But
yeah, Sergeant Jen Erso, and she's not from Jeddah.
Maybe she drives a Volkswagen Jetta.
Oh, that's her outfit on Jeddah. Okay.
Okay, so that's probably what it's called.
$10. That's still too much.
Mind you, the place I went to, damn, I don't want to really reveal my location, but it's in New York City. It's a comic shop, very well known in Manhattan. Fuck it, it's called Forbidden Planet. I don't care.
They have those in England.
Oh, yeah, I know they do.
You could have just said Forbidden Planet. You would have been fine. They're all over the place.
The dog got my back on this at least. Anyways, cool dog by the way. He has some great thoughts. Should get him on the podcast next time too. Anyways, so basically, I was looking at the figures there, and I was just checking out random stuff to see what they had because I didn't know today was the Force Friday thing until I was listening to the episode earlier today. When I was getting out of work, and so I was like, all right, well, I took a picture yesterday when I went about the Funko Pops, and I sent it to you guys, and I was like, all right, it's pretty telling. You have a lot of these Star Wars Pops already with clearance prices of like $4.99, $5.99. It's not all of them, but it's a lot of them. Mostly, especially the Rogue. I think it was like Rogue One and the Rebels one. This whole like new stuff that's coming out that they're hoping would sell on name recognition alone. And then I was like, all right, let me go back for Force Friday today. Let's take a look and see what we find. And sure enough, when I checked out I think they call it the Star Wars Black Series, the figures. The Gen one caught my eye because I saw just only maybe a few figures away from her. You had, what's his name? Yeah Boyega. as Finn at regular price, which is like $24.99. Right next to it was Leia for like I think $24.99 also, and same thing with Darth Vader. And I'm like, okay, so why is Jin the only one that is $10, and then these other two scrubs, I have no idea who they are. But Jin, I mean, Jen or Jin, whatever her name is, why is she like already on the clearance price? That's kind of really telling right there. Like, it is, I don't think really people really like, at least with Disney, they were probably hoping that she would be this character that would sell out, become very popular, everything. But what I'm seeing is them, if anything, stores like this one restocking more Vaders, stocking more Leias.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the new stuff. The old stuff is what sells, just like Ghostbusters.
Exactly. Like, what was it? As soon as the movie came out, Ghostbusters, they already had the figures on clearance because nobody wanted them.
Yeah, I think it was within the first week of the release, and there was a computer mess up or something. But probably because they were selling out of the old, the remade stuff of the old characters, and the new ones weren't selling. So I wouldn't be surprised if just some calculation, based off of sales of a series said, well, this half is selling, this half isn't, discounted. And,
yeah, like
yeah.
one product that I remember, like I remember what was it, maybe 2-3 years ago, before even they made an official announcement of a movie coming out. I bought the Lego Ecto One, which featured the four of them, the whole cast. Winston Zedmore, Peter Venkman, Ray, Spengler. Damn, I'm getting a little bit like eating my words here. But and it was like what, $50, and you could find it almost anywhere. You go to Toys R Us, you go to a Lego shop, anywhere that carried Legos, they had them. I think they ran out of the Firehouse, which is like about $300 and something, but it's a pretty big structure. I mean, it's a large. I won't say large, but it's probably going to take you a long time to assemble it. I think they announced the new Ghostbusters movie, and they retired the old Ecto One for the one. And now you can't find the old Ecto One anymore. And I gave the older one away to my dad so he could put it in, take it to his to a house that he has elsewhere, back in his home, and he like has it there now on display. And I wanted to get another Ecto One, and I tried as hard as I did, I could not find them anywhere. And it was because I think they were trying to get the new Ecto One from the new movie out. So they figured, all right, let's get rid of the older stuff so we could sell the new stuff. But it's not selling. It's still readily available anywhere you go, or they probably just had to probably send it back or something because I don't see it on shelves either. But you check the Lego website, it's still there. I think they put it on clearance. I think they had to mark it down once. And if anything, because of it, they had to bring back the old Firehouse Lego set with the original cast, because of the demand. So the new stuff is just not selling. People want the old stuff. They want the original stuff. That's what they want.
Yeah, and this gets to I think we've talked this to death, but this, as much as I want to complain about Star Wars and I want the movie, the story to move onward, this is exactly it's almost like society in some ways is schizophrenic, because here we have an example, multiple examples of the original whatevers. I don't care what it is, action figures, toys, whether it's Star Wars, Ghostbusters. We kind of see this with Star Trek some, not as much because we had several things along the way that kind of pushed stuff, but stuff where there's a big gap between the original and the new, whether it's a sequel, reboot, whatever you want to call it. It's the original stuff people are buying. They're not buying the new stuff. And this proves Disney's point why The Force Awakens is a rip-off of the first movie, because everybody dumped on, well, not everybody. People dumped on the prequels eventually. But, part of what people said with the prequels is it doesn't feel like Star Wars. Well, if Star Wars is just, Luke, Leia, and Han Solo, and Chewbacca, and C-3PO, and R2, yeah, you're right. And, but on the other hand, you have crap movies that want to preach to us. So it's not just that people have nostalgia; it's that the new stuff sucks. So the stories aren't there. There's not a big want to buy these things, and it's kind of like one's feeding the other, and one's devouring the other. It's like the snake eating its own tail. It's like two snakes eating each other's tails or something.
Huh.
So
actually funny imagery right there.
Yeah. So let's move on to something. So I mean, you guys want to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I mean, we've talked about several things. The next big thing really is Marvel's Inhumans. We can finish out the comic book stuff, and then we can go on to James Bond if we want. One of you said you had some stuff about Marvel's Inhumans. I think it was Liquid Metal Pro.
Oh well, it was mentioned, I believe, in the podcast today that they said something about how Inhumans is getting getting bad reviews all around. And I mean, what do you expect? They essentially, because of film licenses and TV licenses and everything, Disney cannot touch the X-Men. And you know, the X-Men have been a staple for as far back as pretty much, I think, since their creation. I think they've been, you know, fairly popular. They've been always used to essentially open up debate and discussions for a lot of things, like, you know, name it what you will, racism, sexism, like basically they've been like an analogy for it. So, you know, you're talking about like people discrimination, you're talking about fear from society coming out, all that crap, right? So they've connected with people, and you had popular characters that have been selling like Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, just to name a few. And then because of an issue with licensing, Marvel is doing away with the X-Men, and who they got to replace them now is the Inhumans. So, you know, that's why there's this whole push behind them, and the fact that it's failing is one, showing the fact that they're not even like trying to make a good product with the Inhumans is one, and two, the part of it is also the backlash that the fans don't want them. They just don't care about them. They want the X-Men. And the thing I wanted to bring out was actually 2 points. One, I was going back to this whole nonsense of like how SJW Marvel is essentially like shooting itself in the foot, and they just want to go down with the sinking ship. Recently they canceled I found this through another channel called Michael Curtis. Well, I used to read his stuff during the Gamergate days, and he has his own channel. So I was listening to a video he did on how they canceled Unstoppable Wasp, which is part of the, you know, it's basically a Wasp character who I think is the daughter of Hank Pym or something like that. I don't know. I haven't even bothered to pick up any of the Marvel comics. But going back to it, they canceled it. Again, Marvel comics are not doing too good. This whole strong push for like strong female characters, and they're doing terrible shit writing for a lot of these comic books, pushed so many people away that they had no choice but to cancel one of their titles. Now, as of right now, I think what's her name, America Chavez, that retard Williams. I think they still have their comics going, so maybe we might see cancellations of those down the line. Female Thor, I think there's some rumor about her possibly it going back to, you know, back to old Thor, you know, the one that we all know and love, or whatever the case may be. So the Inhumans, basically, it's this whole experiment of, hey, look, we're telling you what to like now. You like it, or tough shit. What are you going to do about it? And I think now the fact that you have bad reviews and everything is kind of like this. We're kind of seeing a pushback now. Like it's like people are getting fed up. It's enough is enough. They're tired. They're sick of all this pandering. They're sick of all these propaganda. They're sick of terrible writing. They're sick of terrible storytelling. They're sick of terrible artwork. I've seen the artwork of some of these comics. They look god awful. And I think this is probably, we might start seeing a shift in terms of like, hopefully things will get a little better, but it's still too early to tell.
Yeah, and I went back, and apparently the Inhumans actually have they officially started and appeared in Fantastic Four number 45 in December 1965, but they actually have origins that go back to 41. So
yeah, which is
Right. So I think it's one of these things where they have this other property that's kind of less known than the X-Men. And although there's going to be an X-Men movie next year, but I couldn't tell from that list I was looking at if it was live action or if it was a cartoon.
But I think that's the thing is that I think Fox owns the rights to the X-Men movies.
I think they own
so
parts. I don't. Do they own the whole thing, or is it one of these where it's split?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure, but I do know, for example, like part of the reason why we have like the older Logan now, and why they did away with the older Wolverine, the old Wolverine, the one that the fairly common younger regenerating Wolverine, is part of the reason is because of all this nonsense. Actually, going to a step further in terms of like licenses and disputes and debates and everything going on, right? I think in September they're supposed to come out with the fourth game in the Marvel vs. Capcom series. And sure enough, due to these license disputes that I'm mentioning, Disney kind of gave a middle finger. I think it's Fox who has the rights to it. It's not Sony. Because obviously Sony can't do something right in years. But they completely eliminated the entire X-Men roster, which included Wolverine, off the character select roster list, instead putting only the movie characters, which include and even though she doesn't even have a movie yet, she got you have Captain Marvel, or Miss Marvel, whatever you want to call her. She's in it. What's her name? Captain Zoe Saldana played in Guardians. What's her fucking name?
Gamora.
Gamora, thank you. Rocket and Groot. So it's like they've gone out their way to kind of like now replace the X-Men. And it seems like there's like a backlash because people are saying, they don't want this. They want the old characters in this game. But of course, you have a whole issue going over it. And on top of that, I played the demo, and the demo's trash. If it's going to be the final product, then I don't see this doing any good. And it's going to just be an entertaining shit show to see how Disney and Marvel explain themselves out of this one.
Yeah, you're right. So Fox owns X-Men, Daredevil, and the Fantastic Four. Sony owns Spider-Man and Ghost Rider. Although Ghost Rider is showing up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Maybe they're not calling him Ghost Rider, but that character, he's Hispanic now. But and then Marvel, Disney owns all the rest of them.
Well, it's kind of like the two, like just look at the X-Men movies. I'm not excluding the Wolverine movies in this one, the Logan or anything, but look at the X-Men movies and look at the Avengers movies. In the Avengers movies, you had the characters of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in Avengers, but they never called them mutants.
Right.
They never called them mutants. They stayed away from that term. Like at times you thought they were gonna say it, but they called them like experiments, orphans, whatever. They did not use the term mutants. Yeah. And on top of that, they killed off one of them, which was Quicksilver. And then they kept Wanda, Scarlet Witch. Now look at the flip side with what they did with X-Men. Damn it, what was the last one? The Apocalypse one? Yeah.
Yeah.
They killed off. You knew who that character was when you saw the scene with Magneto and his family after he got discovered he was a mutant.
Right.
The little girl. For anybody who follows the comics, they knew who that little girl was. It was pretty obvious. It was supposed to be the Scarlet Witch. But what happened? Well, Disney Marvel Studios already has their Scarlet Witch. Even though she's not a mutant, they have the character. So I think they realized that, all right, so since they have the right to that character, what we're going to do is we're going to kill her off in our universe because we already have Quicksilver.
Right. Well, yeah, and I'm reading this thing on this website, and apparently Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, because they belong to Avengers and the X-Men, both studios have the rights to them, but they cannot mention, as you said, in Avengers they don't ever mention mutants or any of the X-Men characters, and in X-Men they don't talk about the Avengers or Hulk or Iron Man. So,
exactly.
Yeah, and it's kind of a... they probably sell these rights were already sold a long time ago, and we didn't know we were going to get the MCU and all this other stuff. But in some ways, I like it because it gets. I would hope that the end of the MCU comes a little bit quicker because they don't own all these rights and they can't just keep adding stuff. But they try to do that. We'll see. I mean, I think the Inhumans wasn't that reaction more of the reviews. I don't know if people have seen it yet.
It's a lot of negative reviews because I think overall people just don't. I don't think it's really that good. Like one of the things people discussed early on when they saw the reveal was how awful the characters look, especially the character Medusa. Like they said that looked like it looked like she wore a wig. Like they didn't even try to hide it.
Yeah.
And I think that alone just was like their way of saying, I don't know if this was Disney's mindset, Marvel Studios' mindset that, they figured that it's a Marvel property. So far they've been doing successful, so this one's going to succeed too. Not realizing, I think people starting to catch on now. And
apparently that was reviewers because, there's things today about, premieres to harsh reactions. Yeah, we'll see. CBS, I think it's on CBS, right? Didn't they have Supergirl too? Or no, it's on ABC. CBS has Supergirl. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but
I don't care about Supergirl. The only thing I cared about the Supergirl is the actress and those nudes that came out, and that's it.
And
I'm a man of simple taste. That's it.
So the only other topic I've got here that I even want to halfway discuss, that before we get on to, we have a couple little things and we'll be done, is James Bond 25, which is, in 2 years? Be the 25th James Bond movie.
Yep.
So one of the things that Jeff talked about, and I know they've mentioned a couple times doing drunken reviews, or for one a month for 2 years. I know last week they talked about roping me into a couple of them, which is fine. I'll do Moonraker. How about doing ones on my childhood? Moonraker's the first one I think I remember seeing. I didn't see it in theaters, though. I saw it later. There was one in '83, whichever one that was. It was on HBO.
Octopussy, I think.
No, I think that was later. I'll look it up while you guys talk. So, as far as Bond, what is your favorite and what's your least favorite?
Movie or person to play Bond?
Movie.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I don't know if I can really fairly say if I have a favorite or not. I've only seen like a handful, and even then,
of what have you seen? I mean, I may have seen them all, but I don't remember if I've seen them all.
Damn it! Which is the one where he blows up the guy with the oxygen tank?
Underwater?
He shoved it in his mouth, and the guy just started they were above it was like a car tank or something.
Are you talking about Jaws?
Is that the one?
Because they put the oxygen tank in the shark's mouth and blow it up. I think you got your movies confused.
Yeah.
No, I remember I saw something blowing up in the James Bond movie.
Well, yeah, watch shit that blows up in James Bond.
Yeah, there's stuff that blows up in every one of them.
That's why I said, I'm really bad at, when it comes to James Bond, my level of, knowledge is pretty low. I've only maybe seen a handful. I know I saw Die Another Day, but I don't remember much about that. And I have no idea how old I was then. The last time, I wanted to go see, when was the last one? When Spectre came out, it was me and my then ex, we were gonna go watch it, and then I think it was in Vegas. We went to Vegas one year, and we were gonna go watch it, and I forgot what happened that we decided not to. Something came up, and I was and we were both damn, we can't watch this right now, and we never got back to it. It was just one of those things where I was like, God damn, I knew I have to watch it, and I never got back to watching it. So just kind of went on that the to watch list and that I never watched.
If I had to pick a favorite, I was backed into a corner and a gun to my head and says you have to pick a favorite, I probably would pick From Russia with Love, because Goldeneye was the first one I saw, and then between seeing the movie and playing the game, I've all of a sudden was like, all right, now I need to watch any and all James Bond movies. So the next one I watched after that was From Russia with Love. I rented that from the Blockbuster on VHS, watched it Friday night, went back and watched it again Saturday night, and that's what really, really hooked me into the franchise. So I'll pick that one. And then least favorite, I don't know. I don't know what my least favorite one. Probably fucking Die Another Day. I just did not like it.
Yeah, I don't remember that movie too well, and I saw that, so
because I remember going to see because like I said, I got into Bond back in like the mid '90s. My dad was always into it. He liked them all, or watched them all. I don't know if he liked them all, but we would watch them together on TBS because they'd have like Bond marathons on the weekends and stuff. And back then there was only like 17 or 18 Bond films. Well, now there's only like 24. Never. That point doesn't matter. So I remember seeing Tomorrow Never Dies and The World Is Not Enough in theaters. And then Die Another Day, I actually didn't see that in theaters. I didn't see that until it came out on DVD. And it just, that was about the time I was like started college, moved to Michigan. And so by the time I finally got to watch Die Another Day, I was so pumped for it. And that was just so let down. I was like, oh, this is not good. No bueno.
I don't blame you.
Well, the movie I was thinking about is For Your Eyes Only, so I must have seen it in '82 when it was on HBO, but it came out in '81. Because Octopussy I saw in Germany, so I knew that wasn't it. And the dogs are whining. Great. So my favorite, so it's my own question, and it's hard for me to answer.
I thought that would have been easier for you.
Well, see, I have several favorites for different reasons, but if I had to pick amongst them, and I'm even including the Never Say Never Again, which I don't think is an official one.
Nope. I think that's a remake of Thunderball.
Yeah, or something.
It's not an official Bond movie.
Right, it was a side project. Someone else had the rights to that. You know, GoldenEye is right up there, and was Living Daylights, was that Timothy Dalton?
It was.
Is that the one that has Wayne Newton in it?
I think so. I'm trying to remember because I don't know if it's got Wayne Newton in it or not. I'm trying to think. I know it's got fucking John Rhys Davis in it because I ended up watching that, like, it was on TV like a couple of months ago or whatever, and I caught part of it. And I was like, holy shit, that's fucking, what's his name? The fucking dwarf.
Right. Yeah, that's not the one that...
I think Wayne Newton's in... I think he's in License to Kill.
Yeah, must be, because it's not...
Because I think License to Kill is the one where it's all, like, fucking, like, tropical and shit.
See, and that's one that I...
It's been a long time since I watched that one, too.
Yeah, I like...
Oh, shit, Benicio del Toro's in that one. Yeah, Wayne Newton in that one. There you go, Professor Joe Butcher.
See, and I like that one because of Carrie, the Bond chick. So...
I was never into her. But yeah, fucking Benicio del Toro as Dario, Sanchez's personal henchman. I need to go back and watch that again because I've probably watched it about twice. Yeah. And they were probably about 20 years ago.
Yeah, and see, Talisa Santo, those two women, So, but if I were... Man...
I think I might just break down and buy the Blu-ray collection this week and then just watch it religiously. I was wanting to hold off on it just because finances and shit, but it's like $75. I'm just gonna be like, fuck it, let's roll.
I think I'm gonna have to, choose GoldenEye over these because several of these movies I really like are very, very similar as far as a level. I like them, but I like them for different reasons. But I think GoldenEye. Although it has its problems, I think I like that one of the ones I've seen. I've not seen all of them. I have seen Casino Royale. I did see Quantum of Solace. I
have not watched a single Daniel Craig Bond movie.
I think I saw Skyfall. I didn't. Casino Royale. It's one of those. What I liked about it is the quasi reboot of the franchise, if you will. But if Judi Dench said I think she even does this in a couple of the ones before that. Because I think she says it in The World Is Not Enough or Die Another Day, one of those. Tells James Bond that he's just a Cold War, holdover or something like that. Just like I was just like gag. But the one I like the least, because see, Live and Let Die I also like because of Jane Seymour. They like a lot of these movies because of the chicks that are in them.
I like Octopussy just because of its name. As a kid, I was able to go around saying the word pussy and not getting in trouble.
I think Goldfinger is one of my least favorites. Maybe Thunderball.
Why is it the word Octopussy? I have the wrong idea.
Yeah, well, yeah, but yeah, maybe it is Thunderball. It's like those movies. I mean, they're in their time. They're in the '60s, but that sheriff, he just gets on my nerves, especially in the second one where, why don't y'all get out of your PJs and get to work? So, anyway.
Pushing a law.
But anyways, I mean, any other thoughts about Bond 25? I mean, I know, obviously, I don't think any of us are as big as Bond fans as Jeff is.
No, definitely not.
I need to start watching a few.
I mean, I'm looking forward to watching all 24 movies. All of them again, except for the Daniel Craig ones, because I haven't watched those yet. And I will probably, before we even get to recording all 24 episodes of like the commentaries on Bond, I will probably have watched all the movies at least once or twice between then and now, just because it's going to be a long project.
Yeah. Well, I must say, I think my favorite Bond is David Niven, but that's in a Casino Royale. It doesn't count.
No, but that is a good movie. That's fun to watch.
Yeah, and just because it's David Niven. So, really, is there any other? I mean, I'm done with the list here. We've covered all of our pieces in the list. We talked about indirectly. We talked about Force Friday. Unless there was more you wanted to crap on those toys.
I've already done enough crapping on those toys.
Yeah. So, Kendo, do you want to give an update on where we are with the monster? The monster. What are we calling this? A Monster Bash, Monster Smackdown,
Monster Super Rumble Slam.
Super Rumble Slam.
All the monsters have been contacted. They're all on board. The target date for the event is Halloween.
All right. So listeners, listen up. We'll record that at some point and we'll get it out to you.
Yeah, live on Halloween. God damn, don't fucking
live.
Hello,
on
fourth wall.
So we're gonna do YouTube live. Okay, that'd be awesome.
I've had enough of that for 1 day, for 1 week.
Okay. So this is a part of the show where we actually go look at listener comments, and we actually have some now. That's just not us talking to one another. There's this goofball, Reality's Frank. Damn, this show really already less awesome without me. Unsubscribe.
No, I would say it's probably better.
So I'm looking at episode 11, which was our latest actual full episode, and as opposed to the hiatus message we did last week. So we have 360 D-Man, a podcast about a podcast, LMAO. So I actually gave that a thumbs up and a pen. Yes, that's what we do, is what I respond back. Yes, it's what we do, our way of talking back to the main show, except when they have us on it. Which Kendo just gets to do every week now. It's awesome. Steel 1974.
Still weird.
Needs more subs. Another good podcast. You guys ready for the Ray spinoff since everyone else is getting one? What? Oh.
I'm pretty sure that he's being facetious.
Yeah. Oh, it's a question.
But
he's missing
I would
a verb
say
there.
I would say episodes 7, 8, 9 are pretty much Ray spinoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, and yeah, you replied to him. Yeah, you guys should call it the Discount Schlocktoberfest, our thing for what we might do or may not do. And apparently this guy, hey, since Jeff records Dion's voice, does that mean Nick records Hillary's? No, I think
Yes.
Is it Nick or is it
No, it's Nick.
Oh, I was thinking it was Dan.
No, Nick does Hillary's voice.
All right, so there you have it.
Because I asked him about it after the guy asked that thing. I messaged Nick. I was like, can I tell him that? Nick's like, yeah, it's fine.
All right. So those were the only two comments that weren't.
So wait a second. The Hillary's asshole's a new black isn't real?
No. Hillary and Dion don't exist.
So like then who was I talking shit to on that Twitch stream?
I have probably Nick or Jeff, because the Twitch stream is probably Nick playing the game and Jeff doing the fucking Dion voice.
Wow. I never knew.
Many talents they have.
Only because like that day I was busy. I knew the Twitch stream was going on, obviously, but I was busy, so I couldn't actually fucking participate in like just sitting in and watching it or like talking or doing anything like that. So I wouldn't be able to tell you just because I wouldn't be able to be there to like hear what's going on or see what's going on to be able to tell you what was up. So maybe if somebody asks in the comments and I remember, I'll ask them. But yeah, usually when they're doing the Twitch stream, that's why Dion always says him and Nick are the ones doing the Twitch streams. There's a reason for that. Because Nick's probably doing it and Jeff's just voicing it over.
Yep.
My entire life is a lie now. I mean, it always has been, but still.
All of history is a lie. So, Mr. Kendo.
Maybe that means I can fly now.
Do you have a BBC for this week?
Kat Dennings.
Kat Dennings. All right.
Dennings, whatever.
I'm just sorry, I swallowed my tongue.
She has huge tits.
That's
Go
all
with it.
Yep. First B is big.
Just go.
All right. So Kat Dennings is our. Is it Kat Dennings or Kat Dennings? We'll find out.
I think it's Dennings. I don't know.
I think it's
Dennings. It is Dennings. Yes.
All right.
And she have some. I believe there's some fappening photos of her as well. All right.
I don't think she ever ended up naked, but I could be wrong. Well, I know there's a lot of fakes of her out there.
Yes.
They're very disappointing fakes.
Yeah. Those Photoshop images, we don't need them. All right. So, since we have nothing else, we are done with the show. So let's put this thing to bed so that I can go to bed. So
support the show, support the Patreon, T-shirts at incarnate-stews.com.
Buy them, damn it.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all sorts of great shit.
All right.
Nick's in charge of the social medias, and he's at DragonCon, so I'm sure the Instagram will have a lot of really good shit on it.
Yep. And hopefully he's having fun. And all those links will be in the description below. And please check out my channel as well. You got a glimpse of the beer nerd geekness inside of my brain with this what seemed like a simple question, and it got me talking for 20 minutes. I do beer reviews. I have some more that I need to put up. If you have a beer or if there is a supplement you want a suggestion you want me to review and give thoughts on, please let me know. I actually have one that I've got a supplement someone wants me to check out, so I've got to order it from Amazon and get it here. So I've been your host, or I have been whatever, I don't know, ringleader, responsible adult, I'm not sure which, Brian Leap, Brainmuffin. With me tonight has also been, all the way from the heartland of the United States, Mr. Kendo Slice.
Midgets and dwarfs have very little in common.
And closing us out, please, Mr. Liquid Milk Pro.
I'll tell you what, propane turns me on.
Just don't light up. Good night, folks.